4, 3, 2, 1. You're now tuned into the 411 podcast and reading Between the Wines, powered by the Black Diamond Consultations Network. More than a podcast, this is a sanctuary for self-discovery, healing, and personal growth. Here, we explore what it means to live debt-free, not just financially, but spiritually, mentally, physically, and emotionally. Every episode is part of a journey across our weekly mentorship series: Spiritual Sundays, Mental Mondays, Transformational Tuesdays, Wind Down Wednesdays, Coaching Sessions Thursdays, and Financial Fridays. Each day holds space for wisdom, clarity, and real conversation. So grab your journal, pour your glass, and prepare to go beyond the surface. Because here, we don't just talk, we transform. And now, here's your guide through it all: entrepreneur, mentor, and founder of Black Diamond Consultations, Laren Gaines.
What's going on? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the 411 podcast. Another week, another episode, another opportunity to get this thing right. I want to say thank you so much to everybody out there who is listening. What's going on, Miss SOS? How you doing? Thank you all so much for joining. If you can please do me a favor and please like, comment, share, subscribe, tag a friend, invite your friend in, because you never know what you're going to get from the 411 podcast. We have a great show tonight. Welcome to Mental Mondays, where we dive into the mental pillar of debt-free living through Diamond Consultation. So we're here. We're up. We're getting ready to do this thing. But before we go ahead and move on, I want to give a very special thank you to my executive producer. I want to thank God for giving me another opportunity to come out here and do the 411 podcast. Another opportunity to make this thing right. This has been nothing but a journey, and I want to be very clear as we continue on this journey to let each and every one of you know out there that I am just like you, going through the same scenarios that we go through night after night. I find myself in some of these scenarios. I find that I have been through some of these things, and that's exactly why I'm here doing what I'm doing. And with that, I never want to come across as if I have made it. I never want to come across as if I am 100%, because with pride, soon after comes destruction. So I never want to get out here acting as if I know more than I know. But with that, as I stated earlier, I have been through some of these things. These are real life situations that we go through. And I can't help but put the emotion and put the passion in to what I do. But I just want to be very clear that as you learn, I learn, and we all learn together. So yes, there is some emotion behind it. Yes, there is. Sometimes it gets a little heated. Sometimes it gets a little uneasy in here, because we're speaking about some topics that sometimes might not be all roses and flowers and things beautiful, because this is life, and life things happen. So I just want to make sure that, I put that out there. And we're here. Track 38. The Mask I Can't Afford Anymore. Disc 5, Restoration, off of the 411 podcast, Black Diamond Consultations Mentorship Series. If you would like to have a seat at the table and go through some of these scenarios with me as well, night after night here, please do me a favor and email me at info@larengaines.com, and I will give you the information to be able to help you sit at this table here and dissect and go through some of these scenarios night after night. All right, so we're here. I first want to give a very special thank you to everyone out there on Daily Motion. I have noticed some interest over on the Daily Motion side, and we have been working on that piece for a long time. So thank you all so much to everyone out there who watches the replay on Daily Motion. I do want to apologize to the people out there on X. We did have a good system going for a minute, but technical difficulties caused us a little bit of setbacks. But keep our fingers crossed. Hopefully, we are rocking tonight. And also, for the audio version, we had some technical difficulties a couple nights ago, but it has been restored. So the last episode of Reading Between the Wines has been posted today. So check us out wherever you listen to your podcast. And again, if you cannot find the 411 podcast Reading Between the Wines, just holla at your boy and we will try to get that situated for you. Last episode, we helped out Mr. Marcus, 30 from Detroit, Michigan. And Marcus seemed to have his stuff together. He is a barber. He has a small business with his cousin, but he got caught up with this woman and basically was bending over backwards, people pleasing, doing everything he could possibly do, and trying to help somebody heal themselves from their past situations and trying to do it with money. And as you all know, especially if you've been around here for a minute, that money cannot fix things, especially when it comes to the healing journey that people need to go on, healing from past relationships. That scenario, or I guess I want to say verbiage, or however you want to call it, to get over somebody is to get under somebody. That's not going to work. And it shows time and time again that it doesn't work. I truly believe that we all need to get with ourselves. We need to sit back, reevaluate our situation, and ask ourselves, what role did I play in this? Instead of trying to get under somebody in order to get over the next. And then there's this vicious cycle over and over and over again. Now, again, I never claimed to be a genius, but I lived long enough to see that this situation that Marcus had going on with Amber, and she does the disappearing act and then comes back, and then he spends more money, and then she does the disappearing act again, and then all of a sudden she pops back out of nowhere, and then he starts to spend more money. Yeah, something ain't right there. So we did help out Mr. Marcus. If you want to find out exactly how that played out, you can go ahead and watch that replay. But this whole ghosting thing, you only got to do that and show me one time. Like Maya Angelou said, when people show you who they are, believe them the first time. You would only have to do that one time today. Keyword, what I said is you would only have to do that one time today, because I was a Marcus before. People would be able to just show up and do whatever they want to do and wreak havoc. And then I would just step back and draw that line in the sand and say, don't do it again. And then when they did it again, I just backed up and drew another line in the sand and said, and don't do it again. And then about the third time, I would just black out on them, and then still would back up for the umpteenth time and draw another line in the sand and say, please don't do that again. When people show you they are, believe them the first time, not the second, third, fourth, fifth, or sixth. They already showed you and told you the first time. When we going to start believing them? Let's get into this tonight. The Mask, I Can't Afford Anymore, track 38. We have Song of the Day, Song Cry by Jay-Z, released in 2001 off of the Blueprint album. So now, this is a very popular song. I love this song. And I just want you to think about the song. If you're familiar with it, if you're a Jay-Z fan, if you know what I'm talking about with this song, I want you to just think about this. Now picture all the possibilities, because that's how it starts off. Picture all of the possibilities. Picture all of the possibilities if you all of a sudden started to look at your life differently. Differently because you finally realized that you are different. You are not like your mother, your father, your cousins, uncles, brothers, aunties, sisters, whoever. You don't talk like them. You don't walk like them. And maybe you don't even look like them. And when that starts to happen, you start to think to yourself, something deep down inside might have you questioning if you are really even naturally from this tribe. You're the song to their album, and your song cries on repeat when you repeat the generational cycles that you have been programmed to play. Now, picture all of the possibilities. Picture all of the possibilities of you having your own record, your own soundtrack to your own album. Now, that's the real blueprint. That's the blueprint to your life when you start to live for you and not for others. Remember, everything starts with self, and you will picture all of the possibilities, and you will realize that your life will begin when you choose to live for yourself instead of sitting exactly where you are, playing that same record on repeat, watching that song cry, feeling that song cry. And in that case, you're not living for yourself, but you're just sitting there waiting to die for others. I don't know who I'm talking to. I'm only speaking from real life experiences. Song of the day, Song Cry by Jay-Z, released in 2001 off of the Blueprint album. So the question that I have to ask for you is, when are you going to start living for yourself? When are you going to start living for yourself and doing the things that work for you? And when you realize that you are different, when you realize that you don't fit in, when you realize that it is what it is, something is off, something is different, something is strange, embrace who you are, accept who you are, and realize that you have been put on this planet and you have been put in this exact situation and location to be able to do the thing that you know how to do best, and that is being authentically you. Took me a long time to figure it out, but I am here. I am thankful. I am blessed. And on that note, again, I can't help it but say thank you to each and every one of you out there who makes it possible, because the 4-in-1 podcast would not be here, and I wouldn't be here without each and every one of you supporting, liking, commenting, sharing, stopping by, hanging out. And again, I want to say thank you. Song of the day, Song Cry by Jay-Z off of the Blueprint album. Things change when you start to live for yourself, and things change when you stop worrying about what everyone else around you has to say. No longer are we going to be people pleasers. No longer are we going to get along just to get along. No longer are we just going to go ahead and get in where we can fit in just so that somebody can like us. Someone can accept us, accept you, like you. Don't worry about what people have to say. Now, we're going to go ahead and get into this scenario. Again, if you want to chime in, if you want to have a seat at the table, email me info@larengaines.com, and I can give you all of the information that you need so that you can be right here going through these scenarios with me. So we head out to Chicago, Illinois tonight. So shout out to anybody out there from Chicago. Anthony is 42 years old, and he is a project manager in construction. He grew up in a household where men didn't cry. They didn't vent, and they definitely didn't talk about depression. My dad used to say, suck it up. Life's hard for everybody. I took that advice into adulthood like gospel. I provide for my family, wife, 2 boys, house in the suburbs. All of the boxes are checked. But what nobody sees is how mentally exhausted I am behind closed doors. I don't sleep well. I don't drink more than I should. Excuse me, let me back this thing up. I don't sleep well. I drink more than I should to wind down. And I feel like I've been performing like this perfect life for so long that I don't even know how to be honest about how empty I feel. I've built up this image of strength, but I'm realizing it's costing me my peace, my marriage, and my health. My wife said to me last week, "You don't even know how to be vulnerable without alcohol." And that hit me. My question is, how do men like me begin to take off the mask without losing the respect we fought so hard to earn? I'm going to take that to the top. We're getting ready to get deep in here tonight. My name is Anthony. I'm 42 years old, living in Chicago, Illinois, and working as a project manager in construction. I grew up in a household where men didn't cry, they didn't vent, and definitely didn't talk about depression. My dad used to say, "Suck it up. Life's hard for everybody." And I took that advice into adulthood like gospel. I provide for my family, wife, two boys, house in the suburbs. All of the boxes are checked. But what nobody sees is how mentally exhausted I am behind closed doors. I don't sleep well. I drink more than I should to wind down. And I feel like I've been performing like this perfect life for so long that I don't even know how to be honest about how empty I really feel. I've built up this image of strength, but I'm realizing it's costing me my peace, my marriage, and my health. My wife said to me last week, "You don't even know how to be vulnerable without alcohol." And that hit me. My question is, how do men like me begin to take off the mask without losing the respect we fought so hard to earn? All right, let's take this to the top here. This is remember what I said in the beginning about how I don't want to come across as, but some of these things, I have been through some of these things. So I'm sure each and every one of you out there, somebody out there has been through this as well. So we're going to go through this as delicate as possible tonight, but while keeping it real. How many of us have grew up in a household where people have said what goes on in this house stays in this house? That's the first part. How many of us have grew up in situations where what goes on in this house stays in this house? That enough alone is enough. We can just close the show out right there. And then as we take it a little further, how many of us have grew up in households where you have been told, "Sit down, shut up, and stay in a child's place"? I'll repeat that again. Sit down, shut up, and stay in a child's place. Your voice was missing. You didn't have a voice. Gone. When things like that happen, sit down, shut up, stay in a child's place. So you can get things like "Welcome to the 411 podcast" because now we have a voice. Just keeping it real. Not always was I able to be vocal about just life in general, just things in general. And again, I no fault to, how I grew up. That's how they were taught, and how they were taught, and how they were taught. And here we go, speaking about these generational cycles here. Now we get to one extreme to another, because nowadays some of these kids out there, they just say a little bit too much. And it's like we took the Band-Aid off, we took the filter off, and now we don't know how to reel them back in. So there's a delicate dance that needs to happen. Let's not get too extreme where you tell a child to sit down, shut up, and stay in a child's place. But then also, let's not be disrespectful. So because of that, I guess that's the reason why things happen back in the day, because there's nothing new under the sun. So these cycles have repeated, and something has happened where somebody said, "Okay, we're going to have to reel this in." But did you really have to reel it in that much? So I get it. And then, yeah, we all know that boys don't cry. That has gone on forever. And then where does that get people? I can't say what it does, but you just turn on the news. That's all you got to do is just turn on the news. And you'll see what happens when you don't allow people to express who they really are. I don't care, boy, girl, whatever. But that notion that boys don't cry. Here's another thing, especially from the black community. Do we talk about depression? Or do we pretend that it don't happen? So last time I checked, I didn't know that depression only works for certain races. But again, we have a lot of people who are suffering with mental health, And because they were told, first of all, shut up, don't say a word, stay in a child's place. So now you blocked that child, you blocked that individual, you blocked that teen from being able to express exactly what's on their mind. And what you teach a child between the ages of 0 to 7 sticks. So then you wonder why, when they become teenagers, they want to do some things that I can't say on here because we'll get blocked. Because you program them and condition them to shut up and stay in a child's place. And I don't care about what your feelings are. You don't say anything because I'm not listening. And if you do, sometimes it's in one ear and out the other. And then the dads, again, I don't know who I'm speaking to, are harder on the boys. And then don't let a single mother, a single black mother, have to raise a boy or children in general, because then that becomes a whole nother scenario and a whole nother dynamic. Like I said, we could shut it down right now just when we didn't even get that deep. So, Marcus, I understand. Excuse me, Marcus, Anthony. Anthony, I understand why you would take that stuff into your adulthood and why you would show up the way you are saying in this letter here. And anybody out there who has taken something into your adulthood that has poured in from your childhood, I get it. But as my mentor says, as we learn things, we can unlearn things. As we like things, we can unlike things. As we invite people in and we invite things into our environment, we can uninvite. Easier said than done. I know it ain't easy and it'll take some work, but yes, we can break these cyclical cycles that we didn't sign up for this. Some signed us up for it. Now you provide for your family, wife, 2 boys, and you have a house in the suburb. All of the boxes are checked. So that line right there, I have no idea what your childhood was like, but we always want to level up. And for parents out there, you want your children to do a heck of a lot better than what you were able to do for them. So when they get older, you would want them to do better for their family and to produce something bigger and better. That's just evolution and that's just life. But how many of us try to make this picture perfect life because we didn't experience it when we were growing up? I know so many people who try to do something different because of what happened as a child. And I would submit that everybody out there that's listening, people who are coming across this replay, there is something that you experienced as a child that you may still be running from today, have ran from it, and tried to change something so that it doesn't show up in your environment today. I'll give you some examples. I know people who grew up and they did not have the best clothes. Now, as an adult, they're the flyest thing out there. Maybe you didn't have the nicest sneakers growing up, but I bet you got every pair now. My issue that I had back in the day was cars. Growing up, we didn't have the best cars. So when I was able to purchase cars and I was able to make moves, I made sure that I had nice cars. Then if it wasn't that, it was, how does my house look on the outside? Because that was something. I grew up in a neighborhood where everyone's home tend to look a little bit better than ours. Not that our house was anything, it was just plain and normal. But all of the decorating and all of the making it look nice outside, planting the flowers and all of that good stuff. I got addicted to that as well because we just had a plain house. We didn't have anything extra going on, the bells and the whistles and all that great stuff. So I want you to think back as we go through this scenario here and help out Mr. Anthony. What are there some things that you might have been trying to run from and change in your environment based off of what you've dealt with growing up as a child. And you got to be very careful when we start to go down this path here. Because once you start to sign up for this, once you start to do this, once you start to get overly concerned about what somebody else thinks of you, that's the ego stepping up, thinking that you have to be something. And let me tell you, that is one all on its own, defeating ego and getting your ego in check. You can start to get stuck into this cycle. And it seems like Anthony is stuck in this cycle and you feel that you need to keep up with whatever you created in your mind. Because that's what's basically happening. All of these things that no one cares about what car you drive. Nobody cares about what you got on. Nobody cares about what your house looks like. Nobody cares about any of these things. You care about it. Your ego cares about it. And the people that you think care about it, even if they do care about it, they can't do nothing for you anyway. The question that I have to ask is, are they paying your bills? Are they going to make it or break it for you? Whether they like it or they don't like it? And this is it. We do all of these things. We've done all of these things. And you said it right here. But what nobody sees is how mentally exhausted I am behind closed doors. And this is when we speak about trying to impress people, keeping up with the Joneses. What you see somebody else have, you think that you have to have it. And we know that spirit of wanting what somebody else has, needing, you don't need it, you want it, wanting what somebody else has can get us into a situation. And then we wonder why, like Anthony here, we can't sleep. We toss and turn. We're not eating properly because we put ourselves through it trying to live a life that was not naturally ours. This one here is very disturbing. And how mystical is it that I just posted something tonight about you can have a little bit of everything you want in life. You just can't get too crazy over any one thing. So we sample wine here on this podcast, and I bring that information to the public. But I don't want to get the wrong message out there about what we do here. So you got to be responsible about it. And this next line here lets me know that Anthony might not be responsible. I drink more than I should to wind down. And I feel like I've been performing like this perfect life for so long that I don't even know how to be honest about how empty I feel. Drink more than you should to unwind. That's a problem. And drinking more than you should, and you don't know how to be honest about how empty you feel inside. So when do we know when to stop? I've built up this image of strength, but I'm realizing it's costing me my peace, my marriage, and my health. This is deep. And as it goes on and says, my wife said to me last week, you don't even know how to be vulnerable without alcohol. That's a problem. When you can't verbally speak up and say what you want to say without taking a drink and then going down memory lane and then feeling sorry for yourself and then replaying old records and going over and over and over again and making your life miserable and making the people who you are connected their lives miserable, and you have children involved in this situation. I don't know the ages, but this does not look like a good situation here. One thing that I can say, I've always been told, and I don't know if I got this right, they say a drunk mind speaks the truth. I want you to pay attention the next time somebody has something to say when they're under the influence. And there's a reason why they call it, because that spirit takes over and then starts to speak the truth. Now, we should not hold these people accountable when they are under the influence of this spirit. The spirit starts to take over and speaks the truth. What we need to do is sit back and listen during this moment. However, the next day, once we sober up, we can make a decision if we want to continue to go down this path again. This is deep. And this is nothing to be taken lightly here. His question is, how do men like me begin to take off the mask without losing the respect we fought so hard for? And I think that that's the biggest thing, is that we have a lot of ego wrapped up into this. And it's a lot of what somebody else thinks. And it's a lot of respect. I'll say this, everything starts with self. So first of all, have respect for yourself. Have respect for yourself to where you don't start to do that comparison game. Because I think that if you don't do this comparison game, a lot of these things could be fixed. Sounds like there might be, if I was in this situation, I would probably seek some professional help, because there's some childhood trauma. There's a lot involved when a child does not have the ability to have the support groups. This letter here could be a start to a breakthrough, because number one, you're opening up and you're starting to speak about it. Things in my world didn't change until I decided to start to speak about it. And then you start to get things off of your chest and you can heal and you can move forward. So this is a good start to it, but there still is more. Definitely, if I was in this situation, I would seek some professional help, counseling, something or the other to hold the family unit together. Whatever you went through as a child, unfortunately, if we don't fix these generational cycles, they tend to pour out into the next generation. And more is caught than more is taught. You don't necessarily have to teach your children anything. All they have to do is observe and watch exactly how you show up in the world. And they'll basically repeat the same thing until they know otherwise. Either they're going to dislike it so much that they're going to say, when I grow up, I'm never going to do that. Or they're just going to go ahead and take it and repeat the cycle. And sometimes if they don't know any better, it can get even worse. Now, from a financial aspect, we're going to bring this thing, because we're speaking about mentally. So a lot of these things are being put on to ourselves mentally because of the things that we sign up for, where we can't even sleep, we can't even think because we got this going on, we got that going on. Think about your own situation as we go here. How many things are you attached to? That you got to have this, and you got to have this app, you got to go here, you got to go here. This is buzzing, that's buzzing, this is blinking, that's blinking. I got to go, I got to do this because I've signed up for so many things. I'm so important, and I'm so this, and I'm so that. A lot of times, the mental anxiety, stress, the BS and the drama that we have going on in our world is because we signed up for it. Now, because of that, because we've signed up for this, we want to be it. We want to be that person. We have to go do this. We have to go do that. Because we do that, sometimes there's a financial cost that's associated with that. So not only do we wear ourselves down mentally, But if we're not careful, we can wear ourselves down financially as well. One key thing here I want to ask: how many apps are you signed up for? Do you know how many apps you have? Do you know how many reoccurring bills that you are being billed for based on the different apps that you have to have? And can you use them all on a monthly basis? Is there something that you could possibly get rid of? Do you really need that? Again, I don't know who I'm speaking to. I'm only speaking from experience, but what attachments do we have going on in our world? Now, I just spoke about apps because that's like the going thing now. The cell phone that we have attached to our hip that's in our pocket that can drain us mentally, and that can also drain us financially because of the things that we sign up that we have going on, scrolling on social media, seeing what everybody else has, thinking that we need to go and get that too. Not to mention, since we're on this attachment thing, because it sounds like Anthony has a lot of different things going on, signed himself up for a lot of different things to try to run away from childhood trauma, childhood drama. What about when we attach ourselves to people because we're running from what we're running from? You know what you're running from. You know what you can't deal with. You know what you didn't like growing up. You know what you don't like when you get with yourself. If there's something that you don't like when you spend that time alone with yourself, that's a key indication that maybe we might need to work on that and change that and fix that a little bit. People. We attach ourselves to people, and we are only an average of the 5 closest people that we surround ourselves with. Only an average. It didn't say you are like them, just like them. Just an average of the 5 closest people that you surround yourself with, that you talk to, that you interact with on a daily basis. Think about your circle. Who do you interact with, whether you're texting them, whether you're talking to them on the phone, whether you're actually interacting with them live, up front in person? You are only an average of the 5 closest people that you have attached yourself to. So here we go as we go down this journey. So that means that if you have attached yourself to somebody who has an impulsive spending habit, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think you're going to have? Association brings on participation. Show me who your friends are and I'll show you who you are. If you are attached to somebody who is promiscuous, and you might be in a nice, loving, sweet relationship or a marriage, and you continue to go around this individual time after time, and they continue to tell you the stories of what they have going on here and there, everywhere. What do you think can happen over a period of time? The enemy is going to creep in and infiltrate your mental system and start to have you question of how you can get around to get around. You have to be very careful of who and what you allow to enter into your personal space, your mental space. What we program ourselves with, what we attach ourselves to can affect us financially. Now, Anthony did not get into any details as far as money. He's basically speaking about the things he's attached to, the lifestyle that he wants, and trying to keep up with the Joneses, and how he has everything set up and how it's wearing him down. And he's unable to verbally say, I need help. This is too much. What could I do? Is this what I really want? He has no voice. It's been put on mute. It's there. He has a voice. He just doesn't know how to use it because he was programmed not to use it. Looking at this from the outside, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some financial issues going on here because of what we're trying to accomplish, what we're trying to make people think about us and feel about us. So if you are anything or experiencing this, know somebody who's experiencing this, came out of this, if you can relate to this, there's a way that we could fix this. I would submit and say that we need to take a deep breath. We need to take a deep breath. We need to pause. We need to back up and look at the things that we're attached to and just start unplugging things. Start unplugging things, start deleting things, start to clean things up a little bit. And with this situation here, based off of the childhood drama, I'd get some professional help tied into this. But in the process, I start to clean some things up. Coco Jones has a song called Sweep It Up. And that's exactly what I would start doing, cleaning things up and sweeping it up. Because if you don't, that nice wife and the house and the family situation that you have, if you don't sweep it up, somebody else might. And we definitely don't want to go down that road. Let me know what you think about tonight's scenario here. We're focusing on the mental realm, but looking at this thing from a deeper level, I feel that we're dealing with both mental, financial. We could even take it to the spiritual realm too as well, but definitely the top two I would say is mental and financial here, because all of these attachments definitely has a repercussion when it comes to the financial aspects. Yeah, that's definitely is pretty deep here tonight, and I don't know who I'm speaking to. I'm only speaking from experience, bits and pieces in this situation here. Either I've lived it, I've had friends growing up who have experienced stuff like this, family members, all of this. The bits and pieces here I could definitely relate top to bottom here. If you want to go ahead and chime in and let me know what you think about tonight's assignment tonight, you can reach out to me on the official 411 podcast Reading Between the Wines hotline. That phone number is 609 200 1098. Again, that number is 609 200 1098. That is the official 411 podcast Reading Between the Wines hotline. And on this note, we're getting ready to get into burning questions. Again, chime in. You can DM me on any of my social media platforms to let me know how you feel about tonight's burning question. I am on Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, TikTok, DLive, Twitch, and Daily Motion. And I want to say thank you all for hanging out there with me tonight. Burning question. Is your mental health suffering because you're living for respect or because you've forgotten how to live for yourself? Take this moment to use this as a journal prompt, a reflection, a moment of reflection. There is no right or wrong answer. This is basically how you feel. Is your mental health suffering because you're living for respect or because you've forgotten how to live for yourself? Now, when I think back, I'm going to take this back to when I was in an unhealthy state. I'll put it that way, in an unhealthy state when I didn't know who I was. My mental health suffered tremendously because I thought that I thought that I could demand people's respect for them to respect me. And with that, there was a lot of disrespect. I was very disrespectful. I showed up into the world a very disrespectful human being. And I didn't always get the respect that I thought that I deserved. And that's because I wasn't being respectful. I was being disrespectful. That caused a lot of back and forth. That caused a lot of drama. That caused a lot of arguments. That caused a lot of discord. So, my question to you is, how are you showing up in the world when you interact with individuals, when you interact with strangers, when you interact with people on your job, when you interact with just people in general? Is there this back and forth? Or are you just showing up being your true, authentic self? Is there attitudes? Is there a push and pull situation going on? One of my mentors says that God says that how you treat people is how you treat me. Now, that's a big, bold statement right there. How you treat people is how you treat God. So if you show up with your nose turned up, if you show up disrespectful, if you don't want to greet people, if you don't want to say good morning, if you just think that you are all of that, and as they say, a bag of chips and everything else, and the soda, and people got to bow down and because you think you are something else. Listen, I used to be like that. I get it. But remember, that's what you think about God then. Because how you treat people is how you treat God. And on a deeper level, you never know that there might be angels walking amongst us. There might be somebody that's been put here to come across our paths as a test. How we would show up and treat people. Do you treat the homeless people in a way? I know I'm getting deep. Some of us, we're suffering because of how we treat other people. And there's this thing called karma out there. There's this thing that's in the good book. You reap what you sow. And I'm sure you've heard it, what goes around comes around. But a lot of the things that we suffer, that's because of how we feel about ourselves. So our mental health could be suffering because of the way we are treating people is basically how we're treating ourselves, how we feel about ourselves. And I also spoke about how we sign up for things, we subscribe to things, we do things just to get along, and we think that that's going to do something. Somebody's going to feel a certain way about us. Somebody's going to treat us differently because they found out or they know what we're doing or where we're going or how we're showing up. And that's just so far from the truth. And because of that, now your mental health might suffer because of that. Letting the ego get in the way and make most of the decisions. Because you may have forgotten how to live for yourself and you're too busy living for somebody else, living somebody else's dream, signing up for something that somebody else has, wanting what somebody else wants, going to places that somebody else is going instead of going to the places that you want to go, doing the things that you want to do. And because of that, now you're unhappy. I don't know who I'm speaking to. Is your mental health suffering because you're living for respect? Or because you've forgotten how to live for yourself? You've forgotten how to do the things that you want to do. You forgot who you are. Do you even know who you are? Because when my mental health was suffering, that's because I forgot who I was. I stopped doing the things that Laren wanted to do. I started going to places that I didn't want to go to. I signed up for things. I started to dress a certain way. I started to act a certain way. I started to do certain things. And when I looked around and finally looked at myself in the mirror, I said, absolutely not. Who is this? Who are you? Burning questions. Is your mental health suffering because you're living for respect or because you've forgotten how to live for yourself? Again, if you want to chime in on tonight's burning question, if you want to chime in on tonight's scenario, you most certainly can text me 609-200-1098. That's the official 411 podcast, Reading Between the Wines hotline. You may also DM me on any of my social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, TikTok, DLive, Twitch, and Daily Motion. And I want to say a very special thank you to everybody out there who has been listening to the show, people who checking out the replay. You can listen to the replay on YouTube. You all check us out on Spotify, Deezer, iHeartRadio, Amazon, Pocket Cast, Audible, City, just to name a few. And if you want our podcast to show up where you listen to your podcast, if it's not available, just DM me, or you may also email me as well at info@larengaines.com, and we can try to make that thing happen. If there is something that you heard tonight that might have sparked some interest in you, you can head on over to larengaines.com and you can work a little more closely with me. You can sign up for a free 15-minute consultation. I focus on debt-free living from the lenses of spiritual, mental, physical, and financial well-being. I believe to start off, we need to focus on our spiritual realm. We need to focus on understanding and knowing who we are. From there, again, these are my personal beliefs. This is my journey that I focused on to get into the debt-free living lifestyle, and I put it into a program. From there, I believe that it's so powerful and it's so crucial to get rid of all of the things that we were programmed that no longer serves us today. Like what we're speaking about here tonight, clearing out our mental space, reprogramming ourselves. Because listen, if you don't program your mind, you're basically setting yourself up for somebody else to program it. So what makes more sense than you programming your own mind, programming your own life, rather than letting somebody else do it? After we focus on the spiritual and we get our mental together and we discard some of the things that no longer serve us, we stop living in lack, we stop living in negativity, we stop living in scarcity, we stop thinking from a poor mentality, we can focus and move towards a lifestyle of abundance. Through that, we step into the physical realm and we start to show up and treat ourselves differently, treat others differently, show up in the world differently, spend differently, take differently, give differently, and replenish properly. After we focus on that, then we start to build wealth. Then we can see a big difference from the financial aspect. But I truly believe that everything starts with self, and there's a journey to this process here. And I have it all I have it all lined out, and I have it all set up in a program focused on debt-free living. So if you want to find out more about that, head on over to larengaines.com. Again, you can sign up for my free 15-minute consultation and apply. Apply to see if you qualify. Again, this journey is not for everybody. I had a conversation yesterday, and I had a conversation again today. I believe personally that this program is for people who has absolutely hit rock bottom and have had enough. They've had enough of robbing Peter to pay Paul. They've had enough of being stuck on a hamster wheel. They've had enough of the merry-go-round and round and round, and they're just done. Don't want to do it anymore. Can't do it anymore. Won't do it anymore. To the fact that you were just going to grind so hard to make a difference because you know that this is it. If I continue to go down this path, it is going to be disastrous, and I would be horrified. I would be mortified by what the outcome would be. Those are the people who benefit most from this. If you are not done playing games, if you are still robbing Peter to pay Paul and you might find joy out of it, you're looking for the next best breakthrough of what you can do to get in, how to make things work and chasing the bag and this and that. This is not for you. It's only for a few select individuals. And I understand that as I started this journey, that there might be some loss. There might be some loss. There might be some people who drop off. There might be some people who can't hang. And that's okay, because this is not for everybody. When we say a different group, like I spoke about being different, think of all of the possibilities and how different your life can be because you want to be different. Those are the folks I'm speaking about. People who don't want to do the same thing that everybody else is doing. If they say left, we going right, because we know that the majority are going left, and that's not going to work because that's the easy path. And even though we might be going right, and there might be some hills, there might be some peaks, there might be some valleys, at the end we're going to be all right because we decided to take that different path. We didn't take the easy way out. Focus on what we need to focus on today, even though it might be harder. There might be some grinding, there might be some uphill lifting, but the back end is going to be so much easier. Easier said than done, I know it. And I have to continue to speak positive words into my situation, into my life, even what we have going on here with the 411 podcast, Reading Between the Wines. Grind today. Focus today. Lift up today. Support today. It might be a little rough in the beginning, but the back end will be easy. If we take the easy road today, that means the back end is going to be a little rougher. I'm working hard today. I'm grinding hard today. I'm doing what I need to do today because I want that back end to be a little bit easier. I want you to think about what you have going on in your situation and in your life. What you focus on here today, what you focus on right now, what you're focusing on next month, what you're focusing on this year, what you're focusing on with the next 5 to 10 years. It's going to shape what the next 10 years will be for your life. That's real deep. So, for example, I'm going to break it down. If you're in your 20s, the choices and the experiences that you have going on now is going to shape your 30s. And we'll repeat this again. If you're in your 30s, the choices, the decisions, the actions, whether you save, whether you don't save, whether you splurge, whether you black out, that's going to affect your 40s. And for people who are like me, if you're in your 40s, however you grind, however you hustle, however you flow, whether you save, whether you splurge, whether you whether you black out, that's going to affect your 50s. And you get this story here. You understand how it goes. If you're in your 50s, if you're reckless, if you're blacking out, or how about we think about it differently? If you are on your grind, if you are saving, if you are mastering your plan, protecting your peace, doing everything that you need to do in your world to make it work for you because you can see the end goal, your 60s are going to be that much better. So forth and so on. If you're in your 60s, do we need to continue to do this? It's never too late. Some people say, oh, it's too late because I'm at this age, and yeah, it's never too late. But it's important that as time continues to tick on, as time continues to move on, as we continue to flow into, we have to continue to push harder if we're not as young as what we are, because we can't work, we can't grind like this forever. So we got to do what we can do while we can still do it and can still move and make things happen. I know you get it. You understand where I'm coming from. Again, head on over to LarenGaines.com for more information. You may also sign up for my free monthly newsletter, Whispers of Wisdom. Awesome, inspirational, debt-free living content delivered to your inbox once a month. Again, you can sign up for that at LarenGaines.com. On that note, I want to say it's a wrap tonight. Check us out. We have Reading Between the Wines coming up, and I have a very special story to tell you. I also have a very special bottle of wine to bring as well. We have author Birdman 313 coming in on Wednesday. Have some great conversation, some great wine, a great story behind a bottle of wine, and a selection that I have for us this Wednesday as well. If you would like a seat at the table, again, please go ahead and email me at info@larengaines.com, and I can give you some information as far as what you need in order to have your seat here at this table come through night after night, whether it's week after week, going through the scenarios, going through these real life situations, and we dissect these things together and we try to maneuver and figure out what could we do differently if we were in these shoes. And I want you to think about it as well as you're listening in and tuning in. If that were me, if this was my scenario, if this was a loved one, if this was a friend, if this was whoever, what would your reaction be? What would you do differently? These are real life scenarios, real life situations that people are going through. People either have gone through them, just gotten out of them. If you're not careful, you might be stepping in it. You might be scraping and struggling and trying to get out of it. That's what we do here. 411 Podcast, Reading Between the Wines. Thank you so much. Tune in. Check us out on all of our social media platforms. Daily content dropping on various different platforms. Just check us out on all of them, and you'll never know what you'll get. On that note, I'll see you when I see you. Thank you so much for joining, and take care.
5,
Have a good night.
4,
Thank you so much.
3, 2, 1. And that's a wrap on today's episode of the 411 Podcast and Reading Between the Wines, where growth is always on the menu, and every pour reveals a little more truth. The conversation doesn't end here. Have something to say? Want to weigh in on tonight's burning questions? Text us anytime at the official 411 Podcast and Reading Between the Wines hotline at 609-200-1098. Stay plugged in across all social media platforms at Laren Gaines. We're live and in the conversation on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, YouTube, DLive, Twitch, and Dailymotion. Prefer to listen on the go? The audio version is streaming on most major podcast outlets. Until we meet again, take what you've learned, sip slow, speak truth, and remember, transformation starts within. Powered by the Black Diamond Consultations Network.